Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Baddie podcast, where I love to talk about real estate, entrepreneurship, and current events that affect our market. My name is Tabitha Richardson, and I am your host. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Leon Bailey, and he is going to talk about his journey from being a real estate agent to owning Airbnbs. So, you don't want to miss this episode. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Baddie podcast. And today I have a special guest. Mr. Leon Bailey is with me today to talk about his journey from being a realtor to going into Airbnb. Leon, are you there?
Hey, thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. So I want you to introduce yourself to my audience, but I want to put a little twist on it. So if I were to talk to one of your closest friends or maybe your wife or someone, how would they introduce you?
Oh, wow. I should have just called her and made her say something. No, I think the way that somebody would introduce me is saying that I got it. One of my friends says this person has forgot what was that name of that movie with that gentleman, but he has a brilliant mind, thinks differently, out the box,
Okay.
and is a loyal, dearest friend, and somebody that will always be on my side.
Okay, that is awesome. So they wouldn't have anything bad to say about you, I see.
They wouldn't be around me if I had something bad to say about me. So no.
Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. So let's rewind. You are you still licensed as a real estate agent?
Yes, I still currently have my license as a real estate agent. Had my license since 2003. To check the word.
Okay.
Yeah, about like 2003. I had to check the award to see like when it was I was the Rookie of the Year in Prince George's County. But so I've been doing real estate for quite a bit of while, and I was doing real estate before I actually had my license. But you know, when I started doing it the right way is when I actually started succeeding in real estate.
The right way. So what's the right way?
Well, the right way is to have a license, be affiliated with a broker. When I say I was doing real estate before, when I went to Hampton University, I bought my own property, and then I was actually renting out my home, and what's called house hacking now is a big thing. I was doing that, and then so I was almost acting as a real estate professional without the licenses and all that type of stuff. So, but when I moved up to Maryland, I definitely got all my legal requirements and boarding information in place, so I can actually help out other people to pursue their dreams in real estate.
Okay. So what made you get interested in real estate? So you were doing it while you were in Hampton. Did you have people around you that were in real estate, or like how did you from college say, you know what, I want a house hack, or I want to practice real estate without the license?
Well, I mean, be quite honest, I had a girlfriend in Hampton University, and she was just like, hey, you guys got your own business, you're doing really well for yourself. Why are you doing this whole roommate thing? You could buy a house. I'm from New York originally, so we're used to kind of like living in, condos or co-ops, and
Right.
so we was like, I'm good, but then she's like, no, you can kind of do better, and yada yada yada. So I started looking into to buying a property, and the first property I bought was a VA assumable loan property. So somebody, because Hampton's an area where it has a lot of military people, so a military person bought a house. Something must have happened. They got shipped somewhere else. And I was able to assume that VA loan and buy that property. It was a townhouse. And I got it for, I want to say, like $65,000. And I was just about 21. And the reason I can still talk about this girlfriend right now because she's had a lot of impressions on my life, and I later married her, so that's my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
I did
really
think
out here
about it
talking
like,
wild. Yeah. So that's why I'm able to talk about it. So yeah.
she was the one to marry. Absolutely. So were you, did you have military background to be able to assume the VA loan?
You don't
I don't
need
know
it.
if back then, if you had to have, be a veteran in order to assume it, but I believe now you have to be a veteran in order to assume
At
a
the
VA
time
loan.
back then, you did not. You did not have to be a veteran, and I just actually assumed the loan based on where they left it, and it was, it was a great deal. I mean, like I said, it was like $60-something thousand. I want to say, if I remember correctly, my mortgage was like 500 and change, so it was less than what I was paying in rent. And then, like I said, we house hacked it. So my roommate was covering my mortgage. I still ended up doing a roommate because it was too much house for an individual. And and then what happened was after I left Hampton, I still would then rent that property out. I mean, I've had a lot of interesting people rent that property. I remember even having Michael Vick. He was co-signed.
Really?
Yeah. So it
Oh, wow.
was interesting stuff, but it was a great deal, and eventually we sold it, and sold it for like double the amount that I bought it for.
So that was like your entry
That was my
into
entry. Correct.
real estate, and then you caught the real estate bug from there.
Correct. It wasn't even like the real estate bug. It was just that was my go-to bag. Because I was doing clothing lines and doing other stuff with my friends and other businesses, but the real estate was always the backing of the projects that I was interested in, because that's when I learned about having line of equity and line of credit and stuff like that, and being able to leverage that money to do other investments and stuff of that nature.
Okay. So you are pretty much an entrepreneur at heart. You said you had the clothing line, and you're doing real estate, and you're doing all of these things. Have you ever had like a 9-to-5 job?
Oh, absolutely. So that's the whole thing. So as I'm doing all of this, I've always kind of had a 9-to-5 job. So during my time in Hampton, I was like the telecommunication guy. I was selling cell phones and all that other stuff.
Okay.
So I was that guy. But then I also had the clothing line. I was always into multiple streams of income. That was my whole thing. I'm West Indian, so I'm always thinking about like how can I get, try to get multiple streams of income. So, but I never looked at real estate as being the, I would say the golden trail of the best place to go. It was just like, okay, I have that, and then I'm gonna keep going. But then when I started looking in my past, I had a mentor that said, you got to look at what you can like to do a lot of things, but what have you been truly successful at doing? Sometimes those be the things that you don't even pay attention to. Yes, I'm trying to do clothing. Yes, I'm selling retail. I'm doing this. But real estate was constantly just making me money without me even putting my full efforts into it. And then when I got fully engaged, it really opened up to be a whole nother pathway of success.
Okay. So then you came to Maryland and you got your license. Are you just licensed in Maryland or any other state?
Maryland, D.C., no longer in Virginia, but Maryland, D.C.
Okay. So you still hold your license?
Yes, still hold my license.
Okay. So tell me about your journey as a realtor. Like, how did that start? Because you've been in real estate for a really long time. You've seen a lot of markets up and down. This market is awesome for a lot of people. So you've been through it. How was your journey as a realtor?
All right, so my journey as a realtor, when I first came out, the market was exploding. It was really hot. It was like 2000, like I said, 2007. I came out. My first deal that I was able to do was my own. And it's funny how that deal even transpired. I was at my house. So like I said, so we just bought our first house. It was a single family home. And I'm out cutting the lawn because, when you come from the city and you never really have grass like that, you're not even trying to hire nobody. You want to do it all yourself. And I'm in the mix, and I'm talking to my neighbor, and I'm like, yo, why? I just closed in my house. I'm like, why all these for sale signs are out, like, with these neighbors' yards? There's something wrong. And my neighbor told me, he said, oh, man, they flipping. I said, what you mean they flipping? Can you explain? Can you elaborate? He said, nah, they bought it for low. Like how you bought low? Now they just selling it, and they're walking away with hundreds and thousands of dollars because the market is so hot. So I said, really? Okay. So I came back inside, put away the lawnmower.
That's all you needed to hear was.
That's all I needed to hear, and they put the battery in my back. So then me and my wife, we started looking at different homes and visiting stuff, looking at people were setting things up, and this is even before we had kids. So we made our date night kind of like going to realty school together. So she took the classes with me. And she couldn't get it because of conflict in her business, what she does, but that's where we spent time and wrote out this is what we would do. And I got my license and renovated my basement got my own contractor. So now I'm managing contractors, getting my basement done. And I listed my property in my neighborhood and was able to sell it. And not just sell it, I sold it for the highest dollar amount that anybody sold in their community.
Oh, wait a minute. So you bought the house for you to live in?
Yes.
And then you ended up flipping it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that one conversation that you had with that person changed your whole perspective. Instead of just, you know what, we're going to live here. We're going to just, grow a family. He gave you that little nugget. You ran with it and was like, yo, let's just flip this. And let me just tell you, first of all, the fact that you and your wife went to real estate school together, that's a power couple, right? Because you guys are growing together and you're aligning your goals and, your mission for your life together. So that's awesome. But so you just decided to flip it and your wife was like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, she was like, let's do it. Because at the end of the day, the way we looked at it was we're young. So if we fail, we can bounce back. We have no kids.
Right.
And why not? This was our project, we have a 4-bedroom, 4,500 square foot house, just the two of us. Let's see what we can do. And then, I'll show you that link later to the house that sold so you can see. It came out really nice. Of course, we did all the basic stuff when you do a single family homes. We did the theater and all that other stuff in the basement, but we did other stuff too, like threw a hot tub in the basement. It was a little extra, but it really came out really nice. And like I said, it was able to sell for the highest dollar amount in the community. And I asked several brokers what were they listed at, and they came at a lower dollar amount, but I felt that they didn't understand the value of being in the community and this type of home because there was no more homes being built. But there was this gentleman that came in, and me and him are great friends right now, Corona. He's an agent that's in the area. He came to my house because I was interviewing realtors.
So you weren't licensed yet?
No. We just had the game plan, but I'm interviewing realtors to see how they make their money, what's going to be the commission split. And he was where everybody else was coming in, maybe suited up and stuff like that. He came in with a button down, some jeans, real cool, and was like, yo, this is what you can do, man. This is the price here. Da, da, da. And I'm just looking like there's no portfolio, there's no hand. You just really we just straight talking. And then he's like, and this is what I charge. So I was like, man, I could do what you do. I straight up told him. I said, I could do what you do because but you're cool.
So wait a minute, but how much was his commission?
So he broke it whole down, 6%, but 6% is not all going to me. 3% is going to go to my cooperating broker,
right.
Yada, yada, yada. So I'm doing the 6% times what I was going to sell the house for. And I'm like, that's a car. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I can do that.
What's important about that is that, so the industry is changing and people are feeling more comfortable to be who they are. Like, we're not really dressing up. Like, I used to, dress up every single day. Like, I wear jeans now and it's more acceptable now. But back then, people came in with their suits and, everything and, their portfolios and all that. And this guy came in like himself and was like, this is what I can do for you. And it resonated with you.
Yes.
You went with him, right?
Well, no, I told him he's the one who told me. He sat with me and started talking to me. He's like, man, if you want to go to school for this is life changing. This is how I make my money. And he's just like, it's a people game. And he really broke the business down to me in a very simplistic form. And that's what made me say, I'm gonna go to school. He said, you got to get your license for brokerage, this and that. He said, but yeah, man, if you want to do it, just go out and do it. So and every time I see him, and he reaches out to me, he's like, Leon, I'll be like, my man. Shout out to Rona. He definitely put me on the path to say that I can do it. Because before him, I didn't really see too many cool agents. Like it was just, suit and boot. And I don't get it twisted. I still throw on my suit and stuff. And when I'm going into certain meetings, but in the place where I was at that time, to see somebody to relate to me where I was at and to encourage me to take that step was very impactful.
Okay, so you got your license and now you're ready to hit the ground running. So did you sell your own house?
Yeah. So while I'm getting my license done, we're renovating the property. So now we're getting and when I say renovating the property is a new construction. So we're just finishing the basement, and putting on the touches. And I listed the house and I sold the house in less than a week. Got it under contract for the highest dollar amount, and then we went to closing. In that same process time, everybody saw. So all my neighbors now are like, "Hey, Leon, can you list our house? Because we saw what you did." And that's what really propelled me having that first year doing my first year in real estate doing over $10 million in sales. So
wow, that's great.
Yeah, and didn't have to really do no real advertising because everybody's like, hey, can you list my house? And the other part about my house that I loved about it was I was on both sides of the deal because I did an open house, had a sign, gentleman pulled up and didn't have an agent and was able to represent both sides of the deal. So.
Okay, well, that's awesome. People don't realize the benefits of buying new construction, especially if you can buy it early in the development of the community, because by the time the community is completed, your house would have gained equity naturally just from the builders selling, because each phase, usually the price goes up. So that's awesome. So what would you say not was because you're still licensed, but what is the best part of being a realtor to you?
I think the best part of being a realtor to me is, first of all, you're working with somebody's biggest investment that they're going to make in their life. So you can't take that lightly, but forming that relationship with those individuals, I'm not just going to help them on making that one purchase. I'm going to show them how this purchase can set them up in a financial empowerment way. And, this one investment can leverage your opportunity to make other investments and stuff of that nature. So a lot of my clients are more so repeated clients, meaning that I'm not just going to, they bought their estate home or their town home. For example, I have a client, we started her with maybe just a condo. I said, don't worry, you can be here for maybe a year and a half to 2 years, and we'll take that condo and move it to a townhouse. And then from that townhouse, you're going to get your single family home. And we've been able to do it step by step. And I'm showing them the benefits of how everything happens and where they can be. So
yes, that's important. Being a realtor for life for your clients. And sometimes people want to come in and they just want to buy the biggest house. And it's like, you really can't afford that. Or what you want is just not in your price range. Like, let's start here. And then, you're not going to be in this house forever. We can grow. We can grow with you, grow with your income. Start here, build equity. Let's take that and then we'll dump it into something a little bit bigger and then a little bit bigger. Moving on. So I think people don't understand just that concept of using real estate and leveraging it to actually end up getting what you want. But you got to start somewhere. So that's amazing. So let's fast forward into, how did you go from being a real estate agent to now? Tell me a little bit about your venture into Airbnb.
So I would say my venture to Airbnb kind of goes back to when I was taking those real estate courses.
Back in 2007?
Yeah, yeah. And,
Oh, wow.
and so what happens is that in those courses, you're paying attention in those classes, but you got your little sheet where you're doodling and you're making your goals of what it is that you want to get out of here. And what I wanted was to have rentals. And then I was just guesstimating that if I had X amount of rentals, I can get rid of my 9-to-5 job. So I wrote that goal sheet down. Then fast forward, once you get into real estate as a real estate agent, you start getting used to the money and everything starts going really well. I met an agent one time and then he just asked me very bluntly, and it kind of, took me back. He said, "So, how many properties you own?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" I said, This is just my listing." He said, "Yeah, but how many do you own?" He said, "Because you're on the front line. You see all the opportunities every day. So you should at least be for how many years?" So now I feel like I'm being interrogated. He's like, how long you been doing this? Like 5 years. He's like, "Well, for every year you're in this game, you should be putting one house away." I was like, "Every year I'm not supposed to put a house away?" He's like, "Yeah." He said, "You should be taking down a deal. Because at the end of the day, you have no 401k. So now me being the smart act, like, aha, I do have a 401k. I'm a part-time agent. He said, "Well, you're still hustling backwards. You still should, have some properties." So he made me go back to my goal list of thinking like, what, that was my intent when I came in, wasn't to just become a high-end realtor. I was doing real estate to sell my properties and then to get deals to buy myself. But then somehow in the mix, I lost myself. So I had to revisit that. So I say all that to say I started buying my own properties after I spoke to him. I started buying properties. Market was crashing and it was dipping, and I focused on the area that I knew everybody was running away from, which was condos. Condos were.
I like condos. I said if I got back into real estate investing, that I would get condos.
Yeah, so condos was my entry, and with those, I was able to get stuff so cheap. Well, and not really cheap, but the entry point was very achievable. And because that everybody could not qualify, nobody had condos, because when the market goes upside down, people start paying the HOAs, and when HOA fees are delinquent, the FHA is not going to finance it, so now you have to put at least 20% down or buy cash. So once that market of potential buyers is eradicated, then the prices just plummet. But me being a realtor, I knew the value of the rentals. So I knew what people were renting for. So when I saw, for instance, this particular area go down, and I knew I sold one before for like 135, 155, and I saw when the market crashed, I could get it at $50,000. I said, I need to jump in and get that. And the rents were stabilized. So when market prices go up, and the rents always pretty much stay the same. The value and equity changes, but the rent stays the same. So I looked at that as saying that if I buy this property, I can actually then rent it for 5 years and make my money back, and it'll be paid off in full. And to just make a long story short, I followed that process several times and was able to buy several condos through the down period of the market. And then that's what made me look at Airbnb as an opportunity later on, because I knew how the rental process was working. But at the same time, I was doing I had condos here in Maryland, and then I did a duplex down in South Carolina, because my mindset was that if I could have my renters pay off my duplex, then one day I could build my dream house on this land.
So you bought land, or you bought a duplex in South Carolina?
Yeah, it was a duplex.
Your goal was to move to South Carolina.
Yeah, so that was after I bought mine, I had some condos up here. I started looking out of town, and we was always going to this place called Atlantic Beach in South Carolina, and we wanted to get something there. There was a property on the ocean front. This is how I'm dated, but it was property on the ocean front. It was just land. It was like listed for like $1 million. So it was one of those like, hey, hun, one day. But today, let's go down the street and let's look at this duplex that they're selling for like $180. That was already renovated. And, it's still walking distance to the beach. So I said, hey, we can buy this duplex and then rent it out and then let the renters pay for it. And then one day we'll just build our dream house here. But things changed.
So a question that a lot of people usually have, and you did it, so I'm going to ask you how you did it. When they own a property and want to buy investment properties, and you bought multiple investment properties, how did you finance it? Did you use like conventional financing? Did you use hard money? Did you buy cash? Like, how were you financing the multiple properties?
Okay, great question. So the first deal that I purchased, I just left my current job. So, when you leave your job as a 401k, I then rolled my 401k into a self-directed IRA. So my self-directed IRA, I purchased the first property, all cash. So that's how I did my first one. The second one, once again, I'm realizing the market is hot in a different way, meaning that it's bad where everybody, like this is when people are mailing in keys and all that stuff, literally. And I was attending auctions online. So I was buying stuff online on auction.com, buying different properties. And I mean, once again, I'm not going to recommend this for your client base, but at one point I was actually buying houses that I knew would cash flow with credit cards.
I mean, you know what? You leveraged, so it worked out, right?
Yeah. Oh no, it totally
Right.
worked
You
out.
leveraged your 401k, you leveraged your credit cards at the time. So that method might not work for everyone, but it might work for some. It might work for someone that didn't even think about that option, because as we know with the real estate cycle, everything that goes up comes back down. So we're due for another, cycle where people can pick up properties that are cheaper. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it is a possibility, and people just don't understand the leveraging of credit to be able to buy an asset. And then, that asset turns into, what you have going on. So at this point, how many investment properties did you have? So that guy kind of, put you out there and you're like, I'm going to just start buying properties. So how many properties at this point do you have?
So I would say this, because I really don't like talking about how many, they say, quote unquote, doors. I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day, but I would say that as of right now, I have over 5 properties that have no notes.
Okay.
So, and
that was started from back then when you decided, like, you know what, let me get back to the basics of what I said I want to do. And you started buying properties.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, and this is just my perspective, because I know, because I go, I have a lot of good debates with my friends and stuff, and we talk about stuff, because hard money is a good thing. If used properly. But when I was looking at the numbers versus what hard money would cost me versus, that time when I was doing those, when you get those balance transfers 0% for 12 months, and I knew my timelines of what I needed to do, it just didn't make sense if you have good credit. And I had income because I still had a job. And then my thought process was, if I'm taking the money from this property that's now paid off and this property adding up, it's just all stacking up, and I could just pay off the next property. So it was like snowball from 1 to 2, take 3, then 4. Because I know some people can say, hey, well, I got $20 and stuff, but you still got like 20 mortgages, And to your point, we know that everything is cyclical. So I just don't want to be in a situation, because I've seen those that have been over leveraged. So when the storm comes, they cannot survive. And I want to make sure that, I'm buttoned up and ready. And so that's my take on that.
Okay. So what would you say was the most interesting way you picked up a property?
Oh, I would say the most interesting way is the way that I got my last deal that I just closed on. It's an oceanfront property, and I got a phone call, and so I have. Okay, so I don't want to sound pompous, but so I already have.
Sound pompous.
I have what we call Bailey's Blue Ocean View. That's my oceanfront property that we have. That we've had my first Airbnb property that we've had for about 3 years now. I've gotten a phone call just last November, December, whatever, and somebody says, "Hey, I see Bailey's Blue on my property online on Google, and I'm about to sell my property, and I just want to know, why is this like star saying Bailey's Blue on my property?" So before I'm about to react, I'm about to like, "What do you mean my property? Oh, you about to sell?" Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's the realtor in you.
You about to sell? I said, "Really? Why? What do you have?" And then he explained to me that they have, these 3 oceanfront lots, and that they were looking to sell because they were going to do a development. COVID was, taking away their development plans, and it wasn't being as successful, and they need to exit kind of quickly. So I was like, "Well, give me 24 hours, and I'll be back in contact with you." So literally, the property that we're building right now, my new oceanfront project, I got the phone call for, and the guy called me because he saw that Google star on what was considered on his property. So I think that to me was just like God sent, and I was literally spent all the previous year like letting everybody know, "Hey, we want another property," letting the neighbors know, everybody know that we're really interested in doing more development, because we've seen what it's been able to do for the town. We've seen what it's been able to do for us. Having kids, we're like, we definitely want to make sure we at least have 2. Can't have one kid to have the oceanfront, the other kid to have the duplex, so it's like, we really just need to get this one. And it all happened, I think. And I was listening to somebody the other day. He's like, "You really got to put out the energy in the world, what you want. You can't be scared to say it, And I was really letting everybody know that, hey, we're going to get this other property. And I always, one of my taglines is trust the process, is because in that whole process, there was a lot of pitfalls. There was many deals that we submitted and, put offers on that we didn't get. But to be able to get the house right next to yours, what's for you will be for you. So that was the blessing.
Absolutely. So are you building this from the ground up?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
Is this your first?
First ground up? Mm-hmm. No. So when it comes to my Airbnb portfolio, the first property was the cottages, which was the duplex. So what happened is the duplex, we initially rented out long-term, did it for years, but we had a lot of issues. And then once the VRBO and Airbnb became a little bit more known to us, we said, "Hey, let's convert it to that." And it was night and day. When I talk about night and day. Less headaches, more cash flow, meaning that I can actually earn what my tenants was paying long-term, staying for the whole year, in about the same 3 months. So you're less wear and tear on the property.
Right.
So that took us, therefore, to look at the opportunity with the beach house that we was building. The first one, Bailey's Blue. Mm-hmm. So Bailey's Blue, we bought the land, and then we built it from the ground up. I know a lot of people, when they talk about Airbnb, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. There's Airbnb arbitrage and all the other stuff.
Well, I don't know anything about Airbnb. I've never stayed in an Airbnb.
Oh.
So I don't know. You're going to have to explain that.
Okay. All right. So Airbnb is basically you're staying in somebody's home similar that's already furnished and done everything like a hotel. You're going to have your electronic check-in. You're going to call. You're going to place your booking online. And the funny thing is that they say it's Airbnb, but there was people that were doing what's called Airbnb before Airbnb. Airbnb is just the best branded name because there was VRBO, there was Home Away. People have been renting vacation homes and doing these stays at these places for years, decades. But now that we have the terminology Airbnb, everybody understands that name. But so we would go down to Myrtle Beach all the time visiting my wife's family, and we would sometimes stay in these vacation homes. So we were used to the process, but they had property managers down there. With technology, everybody started booking everything online. So it's important to, when you talk about Airbnb, you want to check ratings. You want to make sure that, you get to, there's the transparency between how the guests are viewing the place. So one thing can have nice pictures, but then you can look in the comments like it was roach infested. And
listen, I've heard some really bad experiences from people staying in Airbnbs that it did not look like the pictures. So that's what kind of scares me from it. But from the investment side, I'm intrigued by it. So what was the Airbnb? Did you say arbitrage?
Oh, so that's when yes, arbitrage. So that's when you're kind of like, you're floating under the radar, meaning that you're renting somebody's home, or you're renting a condo, but then you're actually listing that condo for Airbnb daily rates, but your landlord may not be aware of the situation. So that's why I said that's a fine line where you want to be careful with, because in certain municipalities they don't allow it.
Right.
And then, once again, everybody's just trying to figure a way around the system. I'm not one that's, so I don't engage in those type of things. And I think that, once again, that's not a good way to do an investment, because if you're doing an investment that's against the municipality, or once again, is unknown to the person that you're leasing from, because, when you sign a lease, it says, can you sublease? And they may check no, and you're still doing it. That can get you in trouble.
Right.
But what I think my key advantage in Airbnb, what I looked at is, I look at it from not just a regular investor. I look at it from an investor, for me, investing in real estate. So the same way I look at my math when I was investing in those properties and knowing markets and studying comps. Prime example, a regular Airbnb investor may just be looking at, hey, if I get a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, I could rent it out for this much. With me, what I'm looking at is, I'm looking at it from what I learned from flipping homes and renovating them. So if I know that my comps is, let's say X, $300,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, but I can actually buy something right now for $250 and put 15 in it, 15,000. So I'm all in for $265. Some may say that's a good deal. But with me looking at the strategies, I'm trying to get stuff at 70%, the value or below, Mayo strategy, and looking at stuff of that nature to see if it's a good investment. I'm going to come down even lower. But for me to get the best price, what I realize is, if I can get the land, at a real good deal, and then I build on it, it's going to beat me even having to deal with an old raggedy home and having to deal with renovation, because now I'm building everything brand new. So I actually reduce my cap rate costs and all that other stuff, because I don't have to worry about an HVAC. It still has a warranty for 10 years. Roof, everything is brand new. So I'm going to have less headaches. And the brand new houses are the ones that get the best reviews, versus something that's just like, a pig with lipstick. You know what I'm saying? So my whole strategy has been, except for my duplex, because I bought that one first, but everything that we've been doing Airbnb has been new construction. And I've been able to first purchase Bailey's Blue Ocean View, that land, and then we did new construction and built that property, which is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home on the ocean front. And then now we're in the process of building Bailey's Lighthouse, which is 7 bedrooms, 7 baths, and it's right next door on the ocean front. And then,
so are they all in South Carolina?
Yeah, they're all in South Carolina and Atlantic Beach. So that's the other part with me too, is that I'm somebody that my niche in investing, what I realize is that I want to invest in communities, African-American communities. So like I said, I'm originally from New York. I'm from Harlem. I missed the opportunity to buy in Harlem and to be a part of that renaissance. By the time I came back home from college, it was a wrap for the kid. You know what I mean? I couldn't really fit in, So that's how I got in Maryland. But then being in Maryland and being a part of Prince George's County and that history itself and the African-American affluent community of investing and learning and speaking to different business owners, you can take your opportunities of what you want to do. It doesn't have to be in the same place. So then when I found out the heritage, so for instance, Atlantic Beach is one of the only African-American beaches in the United States, historic African-American beaches, I would say. And it was one of those areas that came back from segregation. So when musicians and artists would go down to perform at the hotels in Myrtle Beach, this is the area that they were allowed to come back to stay, sleep, and then they would have their own, situations. Let's say Miles Davis is performing with Sammy Davis and the Rat Pack, and the next thing you know, they're like, all right, well, it's midnight, but at midnight is when the show starts at Atlantic Beach. That's when people of color get together, and they would do a lot of stuff. And so the history there, it was very profound to me. And I think what also was the fact that this city was able to hold on to their own charter for so long. So, so once segregation ended, you got to understand, when you start looking into the history, when people had the opportunity to go in other areas, a lot of the black areas suffered because I don't no longer have to be just here.
Right.
I can go anywhere. So now people are like, well, I don't want to go to Atlantic Beach. I could go to Cherry Grove. I could go this place. So
right. That was kind of a downfall. You're right. That was definitely a downfall because we kind of just spread out. And lost some of the culture that we had.
Exactly. So now the economics of that particular area and other areas throughout the South, when you look at different places that, when you look at the history of Greenwood, Black Wall Street, I mean, beyond the things that happen to help drive us away. But once we lose that connection from those places, it's hard for those places to recover. So when I looked at this opportunity about investing, it wasn't so much about I'm trying to make money initially when I bought the duplex. I just wanted to be a part of that movement to restore that presence. And then that same property, when I mentioned earlier, when I was with my wife, when we was looking at the houses over there, that land that was $1 million, when we was one day, when the market crashed and we went through that, the recession, they were doing a short sale and we was able to scoop it up. And
wow, that's amazing.
So that's why I said
I love that. You manifested that
exactly
back then.
Speak it in. As I'm looking at how everything played out, that's why I always say trust the process. Let people know what you want. It's so many things I could tell you, Tabitha, but you're gonna okay, he's all into it, so.
Listen, we need to be able to share stories and celebrate people that are doing amazing things, right? Because what you're doing will inspire the next person. It inspires me. So, I love to hear these stories of what people are doing, how they did it, because I might want to do it. I might not, but I might want to do it, or I might know someone that is interested and I can say, hey, you know what? I know someone that's doing amazing things in that space. Let me connect you with them. So I'm excited to hear all these things. I act like I was so excited just now to know that you got that property as if I bought the property because it's something about when you set a goal and then you actually achieve it. And of course, you had to put in a lot of work. You took a lot of steps. You executed and took action to get there, but you got there. So to hear that's wonderful and amazing. And just to hear all of the things that you're doing, even to hear the story about Atlantic Beach, because I didn't know that. I'm not familiar with that area. But now it makes me say, you know what? I want to go visit that area. To learn more. Do you have a website for your properties down there?
Yeah. So if you go online, so I'm on Airbnb, but if you Google Bailey's Blue Ocean View, you'll get linked to my website for Bailey's Blue. We don't have a website up for Bailey's Lighthouse yet. But that will be up shortly because we're finishing construction in January.
And I'll make sure I put it in the description for everyone.
I appreciate that.
Now, what would you say was your biggest lesson that you learned through, all of your investing? And I do want to get back into your Airbnb as well. But what would you say is the biggest lesson? Because it sounds like you've ventured in and you had your hand in a lot of parts of real estate investing. So what would be the biggest lesson that you've learned in your career so far?
I would say that all lessons are transferable. And I know I'm gonna I keep being a drum. When I say trust the process, is that if I didn't have the understanding of knowing what it was to buy the condos because I was renting them for somebody else, because there were certain times in a hot market, people were like, I'm not doing no rentals. I'm only strictly doing listings, or I don't want to be a buyer's agent. But my experience working with those renters, I knew what the renters were looking for as far as quality, showing them 10 homes. And then I knew from a landlord what they were looking for. So when it came for me to make my own rental or to make that investment, I knew what type of investments I needed to do. You know, maybe instead of just going with the little Formica top, get the granite one time, because the granite is going to last for years, but that's also going to make somebody think the impression, you know, not going to get the white fridge. Make sure you get the stainless steel, like the subtle things. But the experience of you helping others will always pay off in your wealth of knowledge that will help you yourself down the road. And I just look at everything that I've been able to do through that is just taking these steps and getting there. So no, I didn't just jump into Airbnb. I actually had a wealth of real estate built up by helping others get their homes, investing, that was able to give me a compartmentalized ability to say, you know what, I can do it. Because you need to be able to have your tank full to say you're going to do something. Meaning you're not just going to say, I'm going to drive across country and just not check your gas tank and be like, do I have enough? But when you fill the fuel that may not just be your fuel, but hey, I know Tabitha did it because I helped her close that deal. I know Jessica did it. You start looking like, you know what, I got the capacity to do this, you know? And I think that's what led me to be able to say, well, me managing these 4 properties over here is going to be no different than me managing in South Carolina, because at the end of the day, it's just a phone call. Phone call, toilet's backed up, call a plumber. Plumber goes to the property. So I'm not worried about those little things. So that's what I would probably say as far as my lessons, the way I look at things.
Okay. Well, that's great. So if someone wanted to get into Airbnb and they asked you, how do I do this? What would you tell them?
So I would say if someone want to get an Airbnb, I would first encourage them to check their financial house to make sure that they have their financials in order. I would ask them, you know, what it is that you want to invest in. And I will actually really have a true conversation about the cost of what it is. Because depending on what you're doing, like I said, if you're doing condos and apartments and stuff of that nature, it might be different. But when you're doing stuff like beach houses and stuff, there is a cost and a significant investment to do this type of stuff. But there is a significant upside, you know.
Well, what's the cost?
Depends on the area. So if you're doing something in Florida versus, you know, in the Carolinas, that's going to be different. Versus if you're doing something in the Hamptons in New York. So just once again,
cost, are you talking about like the acquisition cost of purchasing the property?
Acquisition of the property. So acquisition of the property, and then you're going to have to figure out your cost to furnish the property, which is a whole nother cost within itself. And once again, it depends on what your end user is going to be looking like. I mean, what you're targeting. Are you targeting somebody that's a budgetista? Or are you talking somebody that wants to have a luxury experience and they're saying, hey, this is what I want to have. I'm willing to pay for this. And then the most vital part for me, and I was just having this conversation earlier with somebody, is your cleaning person is going to be your backbone to your business. Because that your property management is one thing, but the person that's cleaning your home, you need to be spending time and inspecting the aspects of what that needs to be. And I would even now what we do, and I'll share this tip, you know, what we do on off season, like right now, we have family, you know, that we may have just stay at the property, and, you know, we will have that just so we can get evaluations to make sure certain things are being done as they should be. And then we'll just do check-ins periodically because if your cleaning team is not on point, I don't care how much you invest in the property. I don't care how much of the you invested in furniture and decorations, people are going to be mad. They came into your property, and like you said, if the expectations did not match the pictures and stuff of that nature. So we've seen both sides of that, as far as where you don't have a good cleaning team. But we saw that with the duplex, and we took those key learnings and fixed it. Like I said, everything is.
What was happening with the cleaning people?
Oh.
So what are the expectations? Because I don't own an Airbnb. So I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, they just kind of, vacuum and, wipe the counters down and maybe change the towels. So what does that entail?
So some things could be as bad as the cleaning people did not clean the property on time. I mean, as far as
They didn't clean it at all.
They didn't clean it at all.
Oh, that would be bad.
That could be very bad. They didn't show up to. Also, just trying to think of like some little horror stories. The sheets. They weren't clean sheets. Like they might have, the people that was there before, they might have just made the bed with the sheets not clean.
So the cleaning people have to like do the laundry. That's involved in the cleaning.
Oh yeah, no. So
Okay.
we have a whole checklist. So it's not just, so it is, so we already removed the opportunity for them to just say, hey, we'll just wash the sheets in the wash and dry at the unit to make clean. We're bringing in fresh sheets from off-site laundry so they can make the beds and everything. And then they take in their laundry bag, of all the towels and everything has to be folded and fresh. And we request, even before COVID, we want the property to be not a deep clean. When I say deep clean, because we have a deep clean at least once a month, but it's going to be thoroughly clean where they will be in the house for probably about 3 hours doing cleaning. Just cleaning the property, sweeping all the floors, underneath the bed. My wife is very anal about what she wants to see. And she made a detailed list of like, okay, this, and that, to the point when people come into the beach houses that we leave them drinks, like sodas, waters to welcome them in, because like, hey, if I'm coming all the way in from New York, I'm traveling here. You mean I can't have a water in the damn fridge when I get there? Like, can I get something? So
Right.
so it's just making sure that you're being treated as you want to be treated.
Right.
And these little things go such a far way, because whatever issues they may have, if those things are addressed, meaning like I'm coming in and the kids are unpacking, oh my God, there's the waters and the sodas. Oh my God, they left us a gift with a brand new cake from somebody baked locally. Like, so if something small is there,
Little touches, yeah.
yeah, they're gonna overlook whatever we may not have had control of.
Right.
They might say like, hey, the back door, Leon, was open, and but don't worry. Thank God we love that pound cake you left us, and it's the
Right.
small touches. So we
Right.
just want to make sure there's no big issues. Like you go in and you pull back the bed sheets and you see somebody else's hair on the sheets. Those are
Yeah, that would be nasty.
exactly, and that's the whole thing. You don't want to have a spot that
Right.
is nasty. That's at
Right.
the end of the day.
So what's in the future for you?
So the future for us right now, we're really excited about Bailey's Lighthouse. And then we're going to be developing another 6 lots in Atlantic Beach that we already have we already own. So that's what's next. And I think I'm just taking it back and enjoying the ride right now. I'm really enjoying the process. I'm using sometimes you have to take an external look at yourself, and I realized that I'm probably moving on from being a realtor to being a developer, because I've gotten a lot of insight. Being able to be appointed by the county executive, Prince George's County, to be on the Redevelopment Board, I've been able to see how projects have been able to be done and managed, and I understand the relationship between the political mass as well as minority business owners that want to have a piece. And I just see that whole thing as there's so much more in real estate that we need to be a part of. And I get it, if you want to be just an investor, that's great, but there's such another way you can make a critical impact. And I've taken those lessons from here and I've started applying them down in Atlantic Beach, where I've encouraged people to run for councilmen, because, hey, if we're going to change the town, we need to have good leadership in place, and helping forming like HOA associations. Like my whole part is that if you want things to change, you have to be part of the change, and you can't be it by yourself. So you have to bring others along with you, because they may not know what you know, but you may not know what they know. So, and as you learn together, your change that you're looking for can unravel and come before your eyes as you guys trust the process throughout the whole time. So that's what I'm looking forward to, because I'm seeing a lot of stuff come to fruition. I think Atlantic Beach is going to become, I joke and I say it a lot, but I'm really speaking it more to fruition. Like, it's almost going to become like the Martha's Vineyard of the South. Because now that people go down there and they see the houses and they see everything, you're like, wow, I didn't know this was here. And I'm meeting more like-minded investors, people of color, people not of color, but people that understand that, hey, this is a historic African-American town, and you know what? This shouldn't change. You know, that's what I love, because when people say, well, it don't have to be, how would I say it? It doesn't have to be all black beach. I mean, ownership, you know. But I think that sometimes with gentrification, people lose that luxury of knowing what was what. You know, once again, I say I'm from Harlem, and then when people start talking about, oh, Soho, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right,
you can't change the name, you know, and the history of what happened here. You know, but if you want to live here and be a part and embrace the culture and then yes, we welcome you, because through all the Renaissance and different places and things that happened, it wasn't just one. We are as a people first. But so I welcome seeing that evolution of it, and I'm enjoying now having my kids participate into the in the renovation process and of the properties and part of the business.
Well, I love everything that you're doing. Sounds amazing. One last question.
Sure.
When you started, did you think you would be here?
That's a tough one. To be quite honest, yeah. But did I know how I was going to get here? No. When you have the right people behind you in your corner, there's two things you're going to feel. One is that you don't want to let them down. And the second is that you can do anything. And I've been blessed with having a supportive family, friends, parents, relatives that have always encouraged me, whether it's been the clothing business and doing other things. But when I put my all into this, I started seeing that, like I said, when the gentleman told me before, is that when you start doing what seems so easy and, you know, not even a big thing to you, but you can see the rewards, wait to see when you start putting your all into it. And I started doing that. So when I started seeing the rewards on the back end, I was like, wow, this could be good. And I think what I'm visioning now, in the future, I'm just, I'm proud, you know, I'm proud. I'm proud of what's happening.
I am proud of you as well. To see you doing this, you know, these things in the community, doing big things, it's amazing. Sounds like you're going to be able to teach some of this stuff to people.
Yeah, I mean, I was inspired by our conversation, and I think I'm going to be looking into that. So that's one of the goals for 2022. Awesome. So I'm going to have to get with the baddie crew to see how I need to make this happen. But no, yes. I think, and once again, I used to look at it from a different perspective, but at the end of the day, I look at how much I've gained from different resources that I've learned from. So I'm taking it to a perspective that if I can show, or as you said, ignite or inspire that light to show others that it can be done, who am I to impede that? Because I have to trust the process and continue it on.
Absolutely. Each one teach some.
Oh, I like that.
Teach some. So thank you so much for...
Thank you, Tabitha. Thank you for having me.
I've learned a lot about you. I'm excited to see where you go from here. I am going to put your website in the description for everyone if they want to, get one of your Airbnbs in South Carolina. I know I'm going to, because now I want to come to Atlantic Beach and experience what's going on down there. Maybe I might become an investor. I might be giving you a call about that.
We'll be happy to bring you on in.
Absolutely. I'm glad. I'm so excited. So thank you again for being a guest on, and you're actually my first guest on the Real Estate Baddie podcast. So look forward to seeing big things from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. You have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.